Welcome to Beyond the Badge. Beyond the Badge is an inside look at your Oshkosh Police Department, brought to you through the resources of Oshkosh Community Media Services.
Welcome to this edition of Beyond the Badge. I'm Joe Nichols. On today's show, we'll be talking with Mary Ann Radley, sexual assault victim advocate with Reach Counseling, and Brenda Doolittle, who is the forensic program coordinator at Aurora Hospital in Oshkosh. Later in the show, we'll be talking with Joni Geiger, who is the executive director of the Oshkosh Humane Society, about National Animal Cruelty Month. We thank all of you for watching us today on City Cable 10 and those of you listening to us on 101.9 WOCT. Mary Ann, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Brenda, thank you very much for coming on today's show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Very welcome. And Mary Ann, you've been here before, but please remind our viewers about yourself.
Sure. Well, like you said, I'm the victim advocate and volunteer coordinator at Reach Counseling Services, and I've been with the agency for about 6 years.
Excellent, excellent. And Brenda, being new to the show, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Brenda Doolittle. I'm program forensic coordinator at Aurora Medical Center in Oshkosh, and I've been a nurse for 17 years. And enjoy this work. It's very rewarding.
Very good. Well, thank you again for both being on today's show. And Mary Ann, we'll start with you. And can you tell us about Reach Counseling Services and the programs that you provide?
Sure. Well, Reach Counseling Services is a sexual assault center, and we're also a licensed mental health clinic, which means we provide advocacy and education as well as long-term mental health care. So our advocates provide legal, medical, and personal advocacy to victims, families, children throughout Winnebago County and the surrounding area. So we have a pretty diverse team of advocates, which is wonderful. It allows us to reach many more people than we otherwise would be able to. I serve Winnebago County. We have an advocate on UW-Oshkosh campus for students and faculty. We have a Latina advocate who connects more with the Spanish-speaking community, a Native American advocate who provides culturally competent services to the Native community in our area, and the newest member of our advocacy team is our anti-trafficking advocate who's responding to the problem of human trafficking in our area. We have prevention educators that go out and talk to kids in schools, K through 12, in Winnebago County. And we also have our counseling program that, like I said, specializes in treating the trauma from sexual abuse. We see kids under 12 for free to make sure those services are accessible to families. And we'll see teens and adults, and we also have a sex offender treatment program.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes,
yeah,
it is. We're busy.
That's excellent, though. Excellent program. And, April is, the National Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Yes.
And what should people know about sexual abuse and assault?
Well, I think the main thing to keep in mind is that it really happens so much more than we think it does, and that it's never the victim's fault. You know, there's a lot of stigma surrounding the issue of sexual assault and a lot of victim blaming that happens. But what's really important to remember is that no matter the circumstances, whether there was alcohol involved or maybe it was a dating relationship prior or, they knew each other and were hanging out, there's never an excuse for someone to be sexually assaulted. So we have to remember to always support the victim, always be a believer, and provide support and options and resources such as Reach Counseling. We can be there to help any step of the way, whether it happened yesterday or 30 years ago, that we're always available for victims. So believing them is so important because a lot of times people don't come forward for fear of being judged or disbelieved.
Very good. And who is affected by sexual violence, and how prevalent is it in the area?
Yeah, well, like I said, more people than we really think. The numbers we typically go by are 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys before the age of 18. But sexual assault is also probably the most underreported crime, so those numbers really could be much higher. So chances are, we all know somebody, whether we know it or not, that's been a victim of abuse. And, in our communities of color, our Native communities, it's said that Native American women are 3 times as likely to become a victim of assault than their white counterparts. So it's really important that Reach has those diverse programs to reach more victims so that they can find their voice as well.
Wow. staggering numbers. to tell you the
Absolutely,
truth,
absolutely.
yeah. And what does REACH do for students, in school who may be affected by sexual assault?
Well, at the campus level, we are lucky to have an advocate that's housed right on the campus. We employ her, but she is housed in the in Dempsey Hall. So she is accessible to students, faculty, and staff that might be affected by not only sexual assault, but dating violence, domestic violence, harassment, stalking. She does a lot of restraining orders with students. But in the K through 12 level, we do have our prevention educators, and they are always on the go. Every single school in Winnebago County, pretty much giving those age-appropriate presentations from the safe and unsafe touch with the elementary students all the way through what is consent, what is sexual assault, what is dating violence when they get to the older students.
Okay. And I know that you mentioned the sex trafficking.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, our new trafficking advocate is working really hard to connect with women and girls who have been trafficked or who have been engaged in prostitution, and she has a good relationship with Oshkosh Police in order to get connected with those women, because oftentimes they are being arrested when the officers are doing prostitution stings. And what people typically don't see is those girls will have a pimp, and that's part of the thing that we don't see as a society. We see the girls engaging in the behavior, but we don't see what's actually driving them. So our advocate will work with them to provide services, rehabilitation, to help them leave the life and continue on a more self-sustainable, independent path.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. And Brenda, could you please tell us about the sexual assault program at Aurora?
Sure. We have 9 nurses specially trained in sexual assault. Patients who have been sexually assaulted, like Marianne said, a lot of times are afraid to come forward, and us believing them is one of the most important things. Our program is really thriving. We treat patients of both gender, male and female, and all ages, and children. We treat them physically, mentally, and emotionally to make sure, in collaboration with REACH, to make sure that they're healthy.
Very good. Very good. And is the patient charged for your services?
No, the patient is not charged for the forensic exam. There are 2 state programs out there that are able to assist with the payment or cost of the exam, but the forensic exam itself, there is no cost.
Okay. Very good. And how do people access your services at Aurora?
They can access our services by either coming to the ER at Aurora. It's 855 West Haven Drive, right in the ER, walk right in, or you can call anytime. We're available there for you to see if there's a sexual assault nurse on for the time. We have consistent coverage. Report to the police, and the police may offer you to come in to see us for an exam in our program.
Okay, very good. And you work closely with the police then on some occasions?
Oh yes, yes. Collaborative with the police to assist the patient in this crime that has been committed against them, yeah.
Very good, very good. And if someone had questions about the services that you provide at Aurora, who could they call?
They could call 920-456-7400. That's the front desk number at Aurora. And there's somebody there all the time. My office number is 456-7496. I'm there during the week. Anytime you can call and ask any questions that you may have.
Okay, very good. And do you have any community events coming up on sexual assault awareness?
We do. And we have 2 events coming up.
Sure.
To support our program and to bring awareness to sexual assault. The first one is Thursday, May 28th. It's called our Community Response to Abuse, Creating a Safer Oshkosh. This will feature our community partners talking about sexual assault in our area and how we are dealing with them. Our second event is Saturday, October 17th. It's our annual fundraising event to benefit our sexual assault program at Aurora and Oshkosh. We're going to have Live Well stations, gourmet dinner, live auction, music. And if you want more information on donating to that program, you can contact Beth Oswald at 456-7009.
Okay, Very good. And Marianne, how can people become involved in REACH counseling services?
Sure. Well, as a nonprofit, we of course have many volunteer opportunities. So we are always looking for volunteer victim advocates. Our volunteer advocates help us provide 24/7 coverage. So at any time, if a victim goes into the ER, meets up with Brenda, Brenda will call us no matter the time of day or night. So one of our dedicated volunteers will go out to provide those services.
Okay.
We also are always looking for outreach volunteers, office volunteers. But if you're looking for a one-time thing, our annual fundraiser is also coming up in just a couple of weeks. It's April 17th, which is a Friday. It'll be at the Bridgewood in Neenah, and it's called Just Desserts. So it's a lot of fun, especially if you have a sweet tooth. There's lots of different vendors who come up with different desserts themed to different movies. So I know so far we have Frozen and The Sound of Music for the 50th anniversary of that movie, which I'm very excited about. But there's live and silent auctions as well, and all of the proceeds, all of the funds that we make go to supporting our programs too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming on today's show and making us aware.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you again.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
and we'll be right back after this short break.
Hello, I'm City Manager Mark Roloff. Roundabouts are new to many of us in Oshkosh, so we have to take extra precaution when using them. Remember, safety is the key. Slow down. The speed limit in the roundabout is only 15 miles an hour. Avoid distractions. Focus all your attention on navigating the roundabout. Find the proper lane. Check out the signage leading up to the roundabout. Choose your lane assignment early and stay in your lane. Evaluate the situation. Take notice of what kind of vehicles are in front of you. Sometimes larger trucks need to take up both lanes of a roundabout. Think to look for pedestrians and allow them to cross when entering and exiting a roundabout. Yield to traffic on your left. You must yield to all traffic in the roundabout, and that traffic will be coming from your left. Again, safety is the key. Remember that word and what those letters represent, and your roundabout driving experience will be a smooth one. Thanks for your support.
Welcome back to Beyond the Badge. We are now here with Joni Geiger, who's the Executive Director of the Oshkosh Area Humane Society. And Joni, thank you very much for coming on today's show. Thanks for being here. And could you please tell us about yourself?
Sure, you betcha. Well, I've been around for a while, actually quite a long time. I started out as a volunteer with the shelter about 22 years ago, and as you might know the history of the Humane Society, but it was actually under the auspice of the Oshkosh Police Department at one time.
Okay.
So, actually started, as I said, started out as a volunteer, enjoyed the work so much, and then we were able to work with the city and became a nonprofit organization, and then we took over the shelter, and here I am.
There you go. A brief history lesson and something that I didn't
exactly,
know. Yeah,
right.
that's excellent. And Joni, what does your job entail at the Humane Society?
I consider myself kind of a jack of all trades and a master of none. Every day is different at the shelter. There's a lot of things that are alike, but there's a lot of things that are different. So that being said, I'm in charge, obviously, of everything. I have a nonprofit board that I work for, but everybody else falls underneath me. As a Humane Society, we do lots of different things. It isn't just about housing cats and dogs and finding homes for them. We're actually very involved in the community. We do a lot of things, low-cost spay neuter. We do things for folks as far as just education, and we're out in the schools. We do a lot of things, and it's about pet responsibility as well. So it's just a kind of a lot of varied work in there.
Absolutely. It sounds like
Yeah.
a big job, actually.
Yeah.
And I saw from your newsletter that in 2014 was a great year for the Humane Society.
Yeah.
Would you please let our viewers know about how
Sure.
2014
Sure.
went?
Actually, as I said, we've been around for about 20 years, and it just keeps getting better and better, and we're growing more and more. But one of the things that we did back in 2009 was we became what we call a life-saving shelter, which means that we don't euthanize animals for space.
Wow.
And so we have a lot of animals. But so that our live release rate is increasing all the time. And for instance, we were really proud of last year because we actually reached an 87% live release rate, which means that every animal that comes in, no matter what, 87% of those animals went out alive.
Wow.
So we also had Hazel. I don't know if our viewers will remember Hazel, but she was the little dog that was left behind in the dumpster by the Plainview truck stop.
Yeah.
She's just an incredible little girl, a huge spirit. So she really helped to create some awareness for what we're talking about today, as far as like what can sometimes happen and what people can do to kind of help that along. So
Yeah. And that's excellent. So 2014, excellent year.
Yeah, excellent year.
Yes. And April is National Animal Cruelty Prevention Month in the United States.
Right.
And in the past, we've had some animal cruelty tragedies actually occur here in Oshkosh. What can somebody do to prevent those types of tragedies?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting, Joe, that we have had so many. It seems like we've had a series or a cluster of them in a short period of time. But the biggest thing is to be aware. People need to watch and be aware. I think that people would be surprised at how frequently animal cruelty occurs. However, I often think that animal cruelty is very often a result of not necessarily intentional cruelty as much as it is people just not understanding what they need to do to make things right. So that being said, people need to know who to call. Mm-hmm. And obviously in the city of Oshkosh, people would call the Oshkosh Police Department. The law enforcement handles any of those types of complaints. They also need to be very specific. We'll get calls frequently about people will call up and they'll report something, and we'll encourage them to call the police department, but they'll say it's the White House on the corner. You know, you have to know the address. You want to be very specific about what you saw or what you think you saw, because you want to convey that. The other thing I strongly encourage people to do when they make that report is don't do it anonymously. You know, give your name. I mean, you can probably speak to that better than I can, but it makes a difference. Not necessarily that the officer is still going to go out and respond, but there's credibility behind that, and I think the police department is fantastic at this because they always get back to us and they always tell us what happened. So I think that's fantastic, and people need to know that when they do make that phone call, that's going to happen as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, animals, they don't have voices.
Yeah.
And so if someone notices, you know, that animal cruelty is taking place, you know, what do they do?
Sure. Make that phone call. Make a note of it. The thing is that, and then ask, you know, to follow through. Ask, would you call me? Would you tell me what happened? I think people are you said it yourself, we're their voice. And people sometimes get nervous about calling on a neighbor or calling on maybe somebody that they know. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of these incidents, we save animals because people did intervene. And that's the important thing, is that people need to intervene. I think people also need to be a role model. You need to teach your children to respect animals. You also want to be a responsible person yourself and do everything that you need to do. The city of Oshkosh does a great job because they post everything on their website. And you can look up the statutes and that's I'm sorry, I get kind of carried away, but
no, that's fine.
There's state laws and there's city laws, and our city laws are actually stronger than the state laws, which I'm very proud of, that the city of Oshkosh has stepped up and recognizes that we need to do better for animals.
Absolutely, absolutely. And summer is right around the corner.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for pet owners?
The biggest issue we see is the weather and how it can create some problems, obviously, for animals. Dogs and cars is tragic. I mean, it's a tragedy just waiting to happen. What a lot of people don't realize, like when it's 80 degrees out, you've got your car windows open. In just minutes, it can go up to 100. At 160, I mean, if it's 90 degrees out, in 10 minutes, it's going to get 160 in your car. Your dog could get brain damage. Your dog is going to get heat stroke. I mean, deaths occur. Deaths occur, so people really need to be aware of that. Leave your dog at home. Do the right thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, dogs can't turn on the air conditioning.
No,
that's
they
for
can't.
Sure.
Yeah.
And even with the air conditioning,
Sure.
somebody might have it
Yeah.
on.
Proper shelter is important. You know, people tie their dogs out, they put them out. They shouldn't be directly in sunlight. You know, they have to have somewhere to go to get away from the hot weather.
Absolutely. And taking care of a pet is pretty much a 24-hour job. You know, if a pet owner can no longer take proper care of their animal, what should they do?
Bring it to us.
Okay.
You know, we prefer that people make an appointment, you know, that they call up, and obviously we can schedule our day that way, but just give us a call. You know, I mean, that you're absolutely right, Joe. That is really doing the right thing for the animal. If you can't care, that's why we're there. You know, that's our job. So of course we're gonna want to help that person and that pet.
Absolutely. And what advice do you have for parents whose children want a pet?
Boy, I remember doing this when I was a kid. I just begged my parents, you know. First and foremost, do your homework. Make sure it's a good match. That's really, really important. There are certain pets or breeds or types of things that come with a multiple of responsibilities, and people need to understand that you want to make a good match. You want to make sure that the dog or the cat that you're getting is going to be appropriate for children. Mm-hmm. The other thing that parents have to recognize, and we're real honest about this, is the responsibility is going to fall on them. I mean, they cannot expect their children to, you know, I mean, kids are going to go, I'll feed it, I'll water it, I'll scoop it, I'll do it, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, 2 weeks later, that's not always the case. So they have to recognize that it's a lifetime commitment. They need to make that commitment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, they really do. Do you speak from experience?
Yes,
Joel?
I
Yeah.
do. To this day.
Yes, exactly. So you should have talked to me before.
Yeah. Oh, love the dogs though, so
Sure.
absolutely. And let's talk about the Humane Society. How many staff members do you have, including volunteers?
We actually have gotten to be a pretty big organization, at least by our standards. I have 10 full-time people, and I have anywhere from 20 to 25 part-time people. A lot of people don't realize how much work goes involved into a Humane Society. We're like you, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's no days off. There's no time off. You can't say, well, we're not going to go and take the animals today. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just the way it is. So.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And is there a need for some supplies that you
Always,
might?
yeah, it's ongoing. It's just constant. This is our little bit slower time of the year here in April because we don't see nearly as many animals as we do in the summer months, particularly with cats. But it's ongoing. I mean, obviously they need to eat. You know, we need to clean. We need to do all those types of things. And so people just even making some considerations for that. Dog food, cat food, cleaning supplies, gift cards are always wonderful. Yeah. Money is great,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. You probably know what to do with the money.
Yeah, we know what to do with the money.
There you go.
Yeah.
And for volunteers, are there any opportunities?
Oh, there's tremendous opportunities. We're very, very blessed, very fortunate because we have a lot of volunteers. We actually have a volunteer force of about 400 people. Which is amazing, yeah. So, but they can come in. They can. I mean, there's a program they have to go through. I mean, obviously, just because we want to keep everybody safe. But they can pet kitties. They can walk dogs. We have outreach programs. I mean, there's just tremendous. I have people who come in and just do laundry for us, which is wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of volunteer opportunities.
A lot of volunteer opportunities.
Absolutely. And if someone has questions about the Humane Society or if they'd like to maybe come see an animal.
Sure. Come and see us. We're at 1925 Shelter Court. They can give us a call, 920-424-2128. We also have a website where people can view the animals, and that's the oahs.org.
Excellent. Excellent. How many cats and dogs, other animals would you happen to have at the shelter?
Well, like I said, this is kind of our slow time right now, but I just did a count. We have 146 animals in the building right now.
Wow.
So, well, that's not a lot, actually.
Yeah.
We have anywhere from 320 in the summer.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
That is amazing.
considerable. Yeah, we double it.
Wow. And what pet do you have the most? Cats?
Yeah,
Dogs?
probably cats, and
Cats,
because
okay.
cats breed faster. We see cats in shelters all over, here as far as, it's like a 4-to-1 as compared to dogs. And the reason is just because there's more cats, they breed quicker, and unfortunately people don't spay and neuter as much as they should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And remember, spay and neuter your
Spay
animals.
and neuter.
Absolutely.
You got it.
Absolutely. Well, Joni, thank you so very
You're
much for being
welcome,
on today's
Joe.
show. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.
You bet.
And we're going to be right back after this short break.
In Wisconsin, the laws are the same for bicyclists and motorists. So if you bike, ride with the traffic and obey stop signs and lights. Whether you ride a bike or drive a car, you must yield the right-of-way to pedestrians at marked and unmarked crosswalks. At intersections, always look for pedestrians before making a turn, and slow down in school zones and neighborhoods to keep our kids safe. Share and be aware. We're all responsible.
Hi, welcome back to Beyond the Badge. We thank Mary Ann Radley, Brenda Doolittle, and Joni Geiger for being on today's show. If you'd like to watch the show again, you may go to OshkoshCommunityMedia.org or OshkoshPD.com and click on the Beyond the Badge icon. Thank you and watching and listening to today's show. Remember to report anything suspicious that is occurring in your neighborhood at the time it is occurring. As the weather continues to warm, please watch for pedestrians crossing the street, especially if they are younger. Please also watch out for the bicyclists that will be more numerous on the road. And pet owners, just a reminder that pets are not allowed in any of the Oshkosh parks unless it is a service animal. Please clean up after your pets if you are taking them for a walk. If your dog has to be outside when you are gone, please make sure that they have plenty of water and shelter, especially during the summer months. Don't leave your dog in a car when the weather is warm. The interior of a vehicle can reach over 100 degrees in a short period of time when it is hot. We thank all of you for watching us and listening to us on Beyond the Badge. Until next time, stay safe.